Welcome back, everybody. It is now Monday. It is March the 4th. At least I believe it's March the 4th. Yes, March the 4th. Monday, March the 4th, 2024. As promised in our last video, it's another new guitar day. And this one they make it really easy because they put it right on the box. So this is a GearIT GTL 200 Shoreline Series guitar. This is their iteration of a thin line Telecaster. And we're just going to chop right into this and see what we've got. It was quite cold today, but again, I'm pretty confident poly-finish guitars are pretty robust. And it's acclimated for a couple hours. So I don't anticipate any cracks. The box is a little scarred up, as you would expect with UPS. They don't charge extra for that. You can see right here we've got a bit of a split, but these guitars come with a gig bag, although they are not as robust as the monoprice gig bags. But everything helps to, let me add this little bit of padding here. Everything helps to keep things in line. The first thing I'm going to do after I take the guitar out and reveal it is weigh it. Everyone talks about how heavy this guitar is, and it feels pretty robust, but I think what it is that your standard thin line is going to be substantially lighter. I think I'll just weigh this with the thing on, so don't go away. I'll be right back. So it comes in at 8.2 pounds, which again, for a thin line, I could see how someone would think that that would be excessively heavy. But if it was a Les Paul, you'd go, wow, it's really light. And I have a Squire Bullet Telecaster, which is the thinner body, and it comes in at 8 pounds. The good news is I don't stand while playing, so if I put a strap on this, I'm sure it'll be just absolutely fine. And behold, interesting wood. They say it's ash, and that looks very ashy. They say that there's no binding on the F-hole. We're just going to look at the obvious. The screws for the P90 are like sticking out, and the P90 is like completely wacky. It's like begging to be raised. I guess there's a piece of foam under there, and we'll work that all out. The action looks acceptable. Of course, the part you pay the admission for on these GearIT guitars is the rounded frets. Absolutely delightful. I don't see, just on the initial inspection, any issues. A little bit of smuts. The back of this guitar is black. You can feel the seam, but you don't see it. The gloss on the neck looks nice. So I'm just going to go plug it in. That's all that's left to do. We'll come back and yak about it a little more. But at this point, there's, we're going to have to do a little bit of adjustment on this P90 again. It's got some issues. It's sort of it's having a moment in time. At least they put the saddles on correctly and they look reasonable. Everything's jacked up pretty high, which is a good sign that the neck pocket's okay. Usually you worry about it when it's all the way down and you still have high action. So the action can be lowered. So, there it is. Sorry, wasn't giving you much of a picture. When I ordered this at first, I ordered the surf green model, and I thought, I've already got a Telecaster in surf green, and I've got a Bullet Stratocaster in surf green, and I really do like surf green, but there's nothing like the traditional. This looks like it's actually a 3-color sunburst. You can see the black, and then it goes into the red. And they claim this is made out of ash. Does that mean anything to me? There's a little bit of a defect in the binding, but at this price point, these were and probably will go back to sell for $130, and I got it for $88, which is, you know, a $40 reduction, which doesn't hurt. Every penny adds up, and if it plays okay and sounds decent, I will consider it to be a worthwhile purchase. But we'll be back with some thoughts in a little bit. Okay, well, I'm back. It is now about almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and again, it is March the 4th, 2024. Much as it may irritate you all that I repeat the date, but for those of you who are getting older, you realize that's part of getting older. So, gaze upon the beauty. It is a very nice-looking guitar. Again, this is on sale right now at Amazon for $98 with a 10% coupon off, so shipped to your front door, $88 and a few cents. I'm in Montana, no sales tax. For those people who have sales tax, the 10% coupon probably gets swallowed up again. So for under $100. Overall, I really like this guitar. It does one thing that puzzles me. I don't know if it was wired weird. I don't know if it's the combination of a humbucker and a P90, which is part of the reason why I bought this guitar, because I thought that was sort of an interesting combination. But when you put it in the middle position, it sounds like it's coming out of an AM radio unless you completely roll off the tone knob. And if you do completely roll off the tone knob, it actually has a nice tone. So theoretically, I could live with that. Again, for home playing, no concert tours, no stages. For home playing, I could live with that, but I just wonder, should I live with that? Is that right? If I were to send this back, am I just going to get another guitar that does the same thing? So I've got to figure that out. The other two things that sort of puzzle me, this guitar was pretty much in concert pitch tune, which is not only unusual, but never happens when you get a brand new guitar. It's always detuned, usually down at least 2 notes, sometimes even more. I don't know if that means that someone else held this guitar in their hand. The box doesn't look like it. The tape on the box looks like it was only taped once, and that's usually a good indicator of something being opened, so I certainly wouldn't accuse anyone of sending me a box that had been opened, but it is sort of unusual to have a guitar that's like not only tuned, but once it was fine-tuned, it's holding its tune, and usually you have to stretch the strings a couple times to let it settle in. There's a couple minor imperfections, which again, at this price point, who cares, but I'm just mentioning it. The binding has a little bit of a gap there, and on the first fret on the fingerboard, there's a couple little indentations. Since I play like 99% from the second fret up, again, not a big deal, but it's worth mentioning. And again, the other thing I'm going to say, because most of the other people that have posted this guitar haven't posted the weight, mine comes in at 8 pounds 2 ounces, which again, if you're expecting, I had a couple thin lines. I had a Squier 60s Classic Vibe thin line, 6.8 pounds. I've got a Squier Paranormal Cabronita, if that's how you say it, thin line. Comes in under 7 pounds. So again, compared to most thin line guitars, yeah, this thing's a little chunky. But at 8.2 pounds, you know, that's a reasonable weight for a Telecaster. But you know, not with all this cut out. I don't know how far the cut goes. It actually feels like it goes to about there, and then so it's sort of like a quarter cut out, but it's pretty. This looks very ash. Again, I have no idea if it's just a thin veneer on top. They claim it's own woods. The back, of course, is all black. The sides are black, but it feels really good. And again, I'm sure it's the future of other guitar manufacturers, but it hasn't quite made it yet. The rounded fret ends are just a joy to behold. I mean, the second you pull this guitar out of the box, those fret ends just feel like they've just been that way for years, perfectly done. The cut of the nut is perfect. You do the cowboy chords down on the first, second, and third fret. Everything's in tune. The intonation feels good. The E string may be a little bit off, but there's plenty of room to move the saddle. The relief on the neck feels absolutely spot on. The action, a little high maybe for some people's taste, but I like my action a little high, and there's plenty of room to lower it. It's always sort of scary when you get a guitar and the action's high and the saddles are pushed all the way down. There's no screws sticking up for the most part, so it's real comfortable for the palm of your hand. So there's plenty of room to adjust the action if in fact you wanted to do so. The coil splitting push-pull knob is incredibly smooth. I don't like the top hat just because of the corners on it. Although I suppose I could take a file and just sort of take those down a little bit. Switch feels nice. It's got a good solid spring on it. Again, the roll-off on the volume is decent, and like I said, there just is that excuse me, weird issue. I don't know if it's a phasing issue. I don't know. Someone else in another video mentioned that he also thought that the middle position had something screwy going on. So again, I don't know if it's a GearIT disgruntled worker who like reversed some wires. I'm not savvy enough to crack this thing open and to see anything obvious, and I don't have a soldering iron. So I just need to figure out again if it's worth sending it back, because everything else on this guitar is just really very pleasant. And like I said, when you're in the middle position, if you just completely roll off the tone, for my ears you get a nice desirable combination. The output between the P90 and the humbucker in the middle position is fine. It's also sort of screwy. I'm going to tighten them down, but for some reason GearIT did the same thing, or GearIT, on my Les Paul. They use screws that just have, the heads are way too big, so they almost touch the pole pieces, which maybe that's why they lifted them up, and maybe I shouldn't touch it and just don't let my OCD bother me, just go with it. But yeah, fit and finish on the guitar, and again, when you're talking a guitar for $88, it's pretty stunning, just how so much is right about it. It's too bad that one issue with the middle position is sort of there, but like I said, it's something that I can live with if I choose to. So I'm going to watch a few more videos and see if anyone else actually had that issue. But just for the sake of and again, this isn't an award-winning gig bag, but hey, they throw it in for free. And GearIT does give you the best goodie bag of anybody. So for your close-up here, this is the GTL 200 Shoreline Series. And yeah, overall I'm just really impressed. And it is nice to look at. I have to say that they really got the 3-color sunburst. It's just really nice. The camera doesn't quite pick up the red quite as good. I wish the neck and the fingerboard was satin. I prefer satin to gloss, but okay. And the dye or the toning or whatever isn't as severe as the classic vibes. The classic vibes look like they're dipped in nicotine juice. This is a much more realistic, gives it sort of an aged vintage look, but it's not so over the top. Can't say that I love the headstock, but again, when you're as old as I am and you play traditional model guitars, you sort of get something stuck in your head. It works fine. The tuners work fine. There's no, a lot of people were talking about rattles in the bridge. There's absolutely no rattles in the bridge as of this moment. Things could change when it settles in. Keep in mind, this guitar hit the UPS truck this morning and it was 3 below zero. And by the time it got delivered here, it was about 20 degrees, and I let it sit for a couple hours, and it wasn't cold to the touch at all when I took it out. I mean, it's cool, but it's not cold to the touch. I've pulled guitars out that were so cold that you couldn't even hold them. So this guitar had certainly acclimated enough. I don't imagine it will do much gymnastics, but it is made out of wood, and wood expands and contracts and does what it does. So I probably, certainly will be back. in a day or two just to sort of report what I've decided. Watch some videos, see if anyone else is having some issues, see if someone has a simple fix for it. If not, I will ponder the possibility of sending it back. Just for the record, in case Amazon wants proof, this box did get pretty slicey and dicey. I will definitely tape it up good. Well, that's sort of interesting. It's very unusual for the box to get sliced down there. But yeah, we'll be back. So anyways, overall, nice guitar. Overall, very pleased. Overall, mystified by the middle position. But, again, $88. Amazing what $88 will buy you in 2024. Won't buy you groceries. Ho, ho, ho. But it'll buy you a decent guitar. Alright, we'll be back. Thank you. So, welcome back. I just got off the phone with Amazon, and you know, Amazon's an interesting company. There's all kinds of angles that you have to consider. So, if you buy a guitar that is sold by and shipped by Amazon, they're open sometimes to doing a partial refund, or I like to call a price adjustment, which is what ideally I was hoping to get. But if it's shipped by Amazon, but sold by a third-party seller, they won't do price adjustments. All they'll do is let you return the guitar. And why the issues on this guitar are not what I would consider to be huge, as long as they're willing to do a free exchange, I'm going to roll the dice again and try, knowing full well I might get a guitar that has bigger problems than this one had, and then I'm going to go wah, wah, wah. But at this point, I just feel like it's best to take a chance. So I'm going to wrap it back up and send it back to Amazon, and hopefully they'll send me one that doesn't have that issue. I wish there was someone at GearIT that I could talk to. You know, maybe it's just a phasing issue between a humbucker and a P90, although I just can't imagine what it would be. But like I said, when you put it in the middle position, it just loses all tonal quality. It sounds like it's going through a 2-inch AM radio speaker, and that can't be normal and it can't be right. And I looked at the other reviews. There's other people that have a couple reviews out, and none of them said that, so I'm thinking that's a problem with this particular guitar. So in that case, it's going to go back. A week from today, we'll be back with version number 2 of this guitar, and I'm just going to leave this in here so that they can go back to back with each other. And again, for the final time, for those who just haven't heard it enough, this is the GearIT GTL 200 Shoreline series, and overall it's a nice guitar. And I would have lived with, I mean, again, the binding issue is tiny, and the 2 little marks that the camera won't pick up on the fretboard on the first fret, I would have lived with that. But the pickup issue, nah, not so much. Just didn't feel right. Anyways, we'll see you back with this guitar in a week. Off we go.